Good afternoon.
My name is Derek Gamble. Just to give you a little history about me and my incarceration, a little bit of history about my personal life. I know both sides of the spectrum, as they say. College educated with USC, and then I also know the streets. At one point in time, early 2000s, I had a streak of time where I was, I would say, somewhat rebellious, sold drugs, did all types of stuff under the sun, basically product of sun. Got probation for that stuff because I was, recently, from out of college. So, the judge gave me a break. The thing that actually sent me to prison was habitual traffic offender. Driving with no driver's license multiple times. Ended up getting 2 years in prison for that. And, got in trouble while I was incarcerated in the South Carolina Department of Corrections. Got transferred to Broad River, SMU, maxed out from SMU in 2011. That's what went on with me. But something that, just kind of stuck out with me with my whole journey, before I actually started really getting in trouble and doing what I was doing, I never really had empathy for somebody that was incarcerated. And most of the time when we actually have certain things that we go through, it tends to make us have empathy. We have somebody that's disabled in our family. We tend to have an empathy for somebody that's people that are disabled. Same thing for me. So I went around and I actually said, hey, once I ended up maxing out of prison, I said, what can I do after seeing the disparity in the prisons, being at SMU for 365 days? I've seen people hang themselves, do all type of things. Throwing, taking their bodily waste, throwing on the police officers. The guys that's in here, y'all know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So moral of the story is I was like, well, I wanted to go and try and figure out what I could do to try and help out. So I joined the church's prison ministry for the church that I attend. Going to the church prison ministry, it was pretty good. We visited Camille Graham, Turbinville, Lee County, and also, what was that? Camille Graham, Lee County, Turbinville, and there's one more, but it'll hit me in a minute. I think Waterloo. So anyway, doing that was fulfilling to a certain degree. When I actually would get up and speak to people as far as what's going on, there were people in the church that they're going to, preach the word of God from their aspect. And, people would be more like, yeah. But when I could get up and say, hey, my name is Derek Gamble, my SCDC number is 325581, it's more like I'm honing in on that because this brother actually has been there. And, when you actually use the same thing both of y'all said was kind of really touching to me because of the fact that at one point when I was at SMU, all I had to grasp hold to was the Bible or whatever spiritual book that you read, because there's so much despair and whatnot. But some people use it as just a crutch. Yeah. But then you have some people that actually use it to actually learn from and grow from, and you say, well, hey, I'm going to try and stick the path and do what I need to do. My favorite story out of the Bible, I think it's Genesis 32 through 50. It's the story of Joseph. And that kind of reminded myself of me, because overall, I'm a pretty good guy. In the story of Joseph, there was a good guy, had some bad situations, got sold into slavery, so forth and so on. Went to prison, ended up being edified and exalted before it was all said and done. The favorite scripture out of the Bible that I love is Genesis 50:20. It says, even though you intended evil against me, God intended it for the good, to do what it is doing this day, saving the lives of many people. It always stuck out at me. He went through a bad situation and he didn't let that crush him. A lot of guys get out and they're mad at the world because they went to prison and all the different ramifications and the different denials and different problems and obstacles that they go through. They end up having rage where they're raging out at other people when you actually just need to sit down and focus. As one of the gospel songs says, just be still and know. When you quiet your mind and quiet your spirit, a lot of times God will talk to you. So one thing that stuck out to me when I went to these institutions, it was always okay for you to sit there and you could say anything out of the Bible, but it wasn't really an answer. It wasn't even a definitive answer for what was going on. So I always told my mom, I was like, hey, I used to see old hotels and different things when we were passing by, going to Turbinville and different institutions. I was like, it would always be a great thing to get one of these old buildings and rehab it and turn it into a reentry program. Because who better to teach an ex-offender than another guy who is offended? Because when they talk about the green eggs that's in the big bucket that they scoop out, and the chicken that says not for human consumption and all this other stuff, I know about that. I've lived it. So the best person to teach somebody is somebody who's been through it themselves. So, you know, a lot of times we have a mass incarceration. There's more than 2 million people incarcerated here in the United States. We're the #1 lockup country, period. So we have the system called the Department of Corrections. There's not a lot of correction going on. It's basically like gladiator school or whatever you use it for. If you don't use your time wisely, you basically going to just be there to be there, and you're going to pick up just as many bad habits that you had on the outside on the inside. Because everything that's on the outside, they got it on the inside. You know, I had to laugh at Khalid, but the point is, they have cell phones inside, they got drugs inside, they got everything inside. Everything, anything that you want to indulge in, they have it inside. But a lot of times, as we said, there's not a whole lot of correction going on. And many guys, they have kind of messed up the bonds that they had to tie with their family members, because a lot of times when we get in trouble, we consistently get in trouble. We keep doing it and breaking the bridges and the bonds that we have with our family members. A lot of guys can't get out and go back to mama's house. A lot of guys can't go to anybody because they have burnt those bridges and caused those different hardships on themselves. So, you know, we have a whole lot of problems with people. You know, that's another way when incarceration causes people to see it as an end of the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have anything else that you can fall back on. But when you actually sit down and study, and I gave you all some of these papers right here that actually have some of the actual program goals of this Clean Slate Prison Reentry that I actually just started in February. It says the goal of Clean Slate Prison Reentry is to provide a full suite of services to ex-offenders. A 12-month program on site located in Sumter County, South Carolina. It's for men who are looking to re-enter society in a productive manner and become successful. A person's successful reentry into society can be viewed through how adequately they are able to live to meet 6 basic life needs: livelihood, residency, family, health, criminal compliance, and social connections. Many times, you know, when we get out, when you don't have any place to go, a lot of times many people have to go to shelters or wherever they have to go. Have a reentry program homes where you can actually teach these guys different things that they need to know. Just because you got in trouble is not the end of the world. Many people have pardons that you can actually go for. You can have expungements that you can do. If you actually pay attention to the news, one of our former state treasurers, Mr. Ravenel, got caught with all the drugs, right? Do you think Mr. Ravenel would have got a pardon? I'm sure he did. So many times we have to know the loopholes that many people take to get their lives back on track. Because we're the ones that have offended in here, we're not the only ones that got in some trouble. You know, the fact of the matter is, some people got in trouble, some people did things and didn't get caught, some people did things and blamed the world, and some people did things, pull themselves up out of bootstraps and try and make a positive change. You know, when you actually have an on-site program like this, we provide housing, financial literacy, job training, interviewing skills, apprenticeships, help with employment, pardons, expungement, try and help them to get their license back. I met this brother Anthony, through my travels through SCDC at Watery Institution where I was incarcerated, and he stood out that he was different from most of the rest. He was very humble. He wasn't wild like the rest of them. So I always told the brother, I said, man, I know that me and you are going to end up seeing each other again. So we stayed in contact, and you know, we always conversated and did what we could. So after I, you know, took the time to say, hey, I just finally buckled down and wanted to do one of these reentry programs, because it was June 2015. I communicated with several people that I've been incarcerated with before. There were 2 young men, I'm not gonna call their names, but 2 guys that got out the same day, June 2015. One guy got out, he was, you know, very, very adamant about getting employment and doing what he did. You know, he had a manslaughter charge. The other guy, you know, he had a sex offense charge. The young man that had the manslaughter charge, he just went from place to place. He said, hey, I'm gonna put in 100 applications if I have to. A local plant in Sumter, Madison Industries, ended up hiring him for maintenance because he had different certifications that he got from, I think it was Walden, that they taught some of the things that he learned about with plumbing. The other guy, you know, the one that had the sex charge, he had more so of a pity party going on with himself. And you know, he was a guy that when I first got in trouble back in 2001 with my drug offenses, he kind of taught me the ropes of what was going on in jail, because I never really had to sit in jail. My mother's here. They was like, hey, we're gonna make him learn this time. He's gonna sit down and do what he have to do. We're gonna go ahead and try and kill this getting in trouble. So that was the longest time I was spending there. So I always had respect for that guy. But anyway, he ended up starting to kind of revert because things weren't going the way that he wanted to. Got hooked up with a loose woman, and that was it. You know, she's on drugs, so now, where's he? He's on drugs. You know, he's still out, but he's barely maintaining. The other young man is doing very well. You know, that's the difference between, you know, he has a particular charge that's kind of looked at as heinous. We know how they do people with sex charges in jail. And a lot of people, they may not know the pretenses of the charges, but they already assume. If somebody says something, you can shoot somebody, but then if you say you did something to a child, they're going to look at you a whole lot different than that man that shot somebody else. So moral of the story is, you have to sit down and actually work with these guys to actually try and figure out what's going on internally. What can you do to help them? You know, with this program, I allow the young men to stay on site, get jobs, do what they need to do. It's basically structured like how work release is structured. Work release where you save a third of your money in long-term savings, a third for you, and a third for living. So when you do things like that and you're actually going through and teaching them different things like financial literacy, because like myself, after I got in trouble and I finally got a criminal record in the early 2000s, I said to myself, hey, I didn't know about the pardons and all that stuff at that particular time. I said, hey, I know this is going to be a problem, so I might as well use the skills that I learned in college and what I know, so I opened a computer store. So hey, nobody asked me when I had my computer store, did you commit any crimes, right? So a lot of times when you choose to change your quadrants from just simply being an employee and thinking outside of the box, whether you are self-employed, whether you're a business owner or an investor, those things many times don't require criminal background checks. So I chose to go down that route. With me going down that route, it taught me, I ended up, you know, finding out about financial literacy, passive income, the things that I learned about that would make me be successful in spite of being an ex-offender. So if you actually can teach these guys over the time that they're saving their money in their long-term savings, and the goal of this program is to help them to get cars, to get homes and things by the time the program is over. The actual program home that I actually have for this program, I bought from the tax auction. 3-bedroom brick house, $8,000. Assessed at $50,000, right? When you can do things like this, when you can give these guys these different jewels to actually help them to succeed, a man that has a house that's paid for and has a car and other things that are socially acceptable and social connections that really make them where they're competitive, they're probably less likely to offend. It's not going to be a lot of guys that if I got a house where I got the deed in my hand, I'm probably not going to go out there and say, well, hey, I got to go sell crack. You know, I can go and find some other type of legal means to pay my property taxes, to keep myself sustained, right? But when you're teaching them the skills, you want to make sure that they know all of the different aspects of life that's available to them. If they choose to be unemployed, that's fine. Many of these guys, like Brother Anthony, he's the first guy at the house. You know, he's skilled in many things, small engine, carpentry, brick masonry, and whatnot. Many of these skills don't deem that you need to have somebody scrutinize your criminal record. If you have the business skills and understanding to go ahead and go for it on your own, then you're going to be able to make it. You know, I only have the capability with this first home to hold 4 guys at this time. But with expanding the program, getting more homes, becoming more stable, you're going to be able to see a real change. You don't try and create followers, you create more leaders. And the same way that Colin said, there's a social obligation to these guys to reach back and try and help somebody else that's already been down. Many guys get out, you can ask anybody here who's offended. Hey man, look, when I get out, man, I'm gonna hit you up, I'm gonna send you some money. You never see it, man. It's very few guys that are out there that are actually really about yourself. Because not only is prison a place of disparity, prison is like the internet. You can be anybody you want to be until you meet somebody from the home team. Ain't that right, fellas?
Yeah.
Till somebody actually knows you. You was the biggest drug dealer, you had the most, you did everything until somebody knows you, right? So many times we actually get people that have a different persona in prison than who they really are in life. So you have to sit down and actually break down who these people are and what their skills are. But with this program, to kind of keep it brief so that we can have a fairly decent panel discussion, qualifications for this program: within 2 years of release from incarceration, minimal disciplinary actions while incarcerated, have not been convicted of crimes against women and children. The reason why that's listed is because one of the programs that I partner with, the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, they don't really want you to have, CDBs and whatnot to actually be able to not get with the employers that they want you to have. That's not really one of my criteria, but it makes it harder for you to get employed with certain types of domestic violence and aggravated assault and different things like that. So that's why that's listed. Willing to commit to the program's 12-month structure, be able to stay sober and drug-free, drug and alcohol-free. Those are not really very hard precepts to go by, but when you have guys that have not had their free reign for a long time, there's many different things that can pull you back into that lifestyle. When I got out of jail, I had people to, kind of say to me, even though I had my family structure, they wanted me to, hey man, I know how you can make some quick money scamming, You have to be strong enough to go ahead and say, hey, I'm gonna try and take the road less traveled and try and be more so of a pillar of the community instead of somebody that's problematic. And many of these guys end up having their fathers, and they need to reconnect with their children. Many times, it even states in the Bible, in the Old Testament, many times the sins of the father pass along to, future generations to basically summarize it. So if you don't change the way that you are, your children, they don't listen to what you say, they tend to follow what you do.
Yes.
I have my son here. This is my little boy. I say about 20 months of his, from the time he was 1 until he was almost 3, I was locked up. And that hurt me. That hurt me real bad. So he doesn't remember anything about that time because he was so small. But I chose to go ahead and buckle down and say, hey, I'm a father, I gotta go ahead and buckle down and do what I need to do. You have to start the social connections back with trying to get the ex-offenders back with their family to show them that they actually have something to live for. You give them a structured environment, but you don't want them to feel as though they're incarcerated. With this type of program, you have on-site and off-site visits on the weekends. You have personal time that they have throughout the week to go and handle their business, but you have a curfew also. So it's still, as y'all, the guys in here that have been in prison, that's nowhere close to prison. Count time and walking the white line and all that other stuff, that's not anywhere close to like a reentry home or a halfway house. But you have to go ahead and have structure. If you don't have any structure, you have all type of stuff in it. You have men got buck and all types of stuff in your attic in your house if you're not careful. So you have to be strict, but you have to be fair also. I know the things that the guys go through because I've been there. So a lot of times you have to make sure that just because they know that you're an ex-offender, that they also have to respect the professional side of it, that you are still the director. So, with that being said, also on the backside of this yellow sheet, there is actually some things that the program actually needs. We just got a donation of the full-size bunk beds that we needed at this program. We need one more full-size mattress. The rest of the stuff on here is basically like hygiene products and undergarments. I also accept clothing items that you guys may not be able to wear for the same situation, because Khalid went and got David from Trenton no clothes. When I got out of prison, they at least gave me some clothes. So that's another way of kind of like causing you to have a hard way to go to even start out with. So we can have a crisis closet where if anybody needs any clothes or anything, I'm collecting clothes so that we can have clothes of all sizes to give these guys a few outfits, whether they are maxing out on the weekend and can't get to Salvation Army or Goodwill or whatever local cooperative ministries, I think it's called up here, is United Ministries in Sumter. But we have to have the resources to help these guys, to go ahead and help them be able to be successful and start off life on the right path. My grandma used to always say, and still does say, you have to start off right to end up right. So if you go ahead and treat people how you want to be treated, and on this note right here, out of the Bible, it tells you there's two great commandments. One is to love God, and one is to love your neighbor as yourself. When you're doing things like this, you don't look down on another man because of what he did, because he's made in the image of the Creator that we have not yet to see. So we have yet to see God, but we say we love him, and we don't love our brother who we have seen. We are liars, like it says in the Epistle of John. So we have to do what we can, and it's our moral obligation to try and help everybody try and get back on their feet if they want to be helped. So that's my time for now, and I appreciate you guys for listening.